Could Manchester United finally be about to do some business in the January window? We're 27 days in, and it looks like INEOS are ready to do something, realise they need to do something, and are looking at some names. Some new names have emerged. Or is this PR spin? Is this a distraction? Is this, let's link us to some fresh names, let's say we're thinking of doing this, this, and this to distract the fans from the fact that we're doing nothing, but give them hope for the next few days? Will INEOS take action? Will they be signing a midfielder? Because INEOS want to do some business now, apparently. Will we be looking at a new winger? Will we be looking at a new forward? Or is it PR? But Manchester United have been looking at a wonder kid, an 18-year-old forward in Kader, Meite. He could be coming in as potentially a Xerxes replacement. You know, Palace to sell Meite, they could go for Xerxes. Juventus wants Xerxes. Roma wants Xerxes. Could he come in as a Xerxes replacement? United are looking at left wingers, and Ndiaye have been linked. United looking at midfielders like Joao Gomes, Tyler Adams. Could Man United be making some moves this next week? Well, we're going to discuss all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news and round it up into a 10-minute video for you guys. So feel free to hit the like button if you do enjoy today's news roundup, and you're more than welcome to subscribe down below if you're new. Every single day on the channel, I will round up all the latest Manchester United news into a 10-minute video, so all the relevant news from credible-ish sources will come out in a 10-minute video every evening. So let's start with the story from Nathan Salt. Now, Nathan Salt was one of the better journalists in the Manchester United space, and he said this. Sources at Manchester United are increasingly twitchy about the prospect of not making a move for a midfielder this transfer window, and it going on to cost them Champions League football, a scenario that behind the scenes nobody's willing to contemplate right now. While all the noises at Old Trafford are that things could be very quiet, nobody wants to go as far as ruling anything out. As one source put it, a stopgap midfielder on loan until the summer could be something that moves very, very late. Man United have probably realised if we get Champions League football, we get 100 million more. If spending 30 million on a midfielder that helps us get UCL football is probably better than not bringing anyone in and then not getting UCL football. Because UCL football could be 100 million difference, and a 30 million midfielder could be the difference. You know, I think INEOS have realised, well, if we get Champions League football, we have a lot more money, so maybe it's worth spending, maybe it's worth investing. However, we're then hearing loan. Ruben Loftus-Cheek doesn't improve us. You know, I don't think Conor Gallagher really would have improved us. He's not looked great at Tottenham. Some of the names we've been linked to aren't great. I think if you look at the better names we've been linked to, like a Joao Gomes, he could possibly improve us. I'm trying to think of someone that gives Casemiro some real competition. I think Ugarte plays his best football next to Casemiro rather than instead of Casemiro. But what's basically been said is it's been quite quiet. You know, there's a feeling really at Old Trafford we're probably going to do nothing. And that's good of Nathan Salt to say. He's saying realistically they're probably not going to do anything, Manchester United. We probably won't do anything this window. But they are thinking like, well, we need Champions League football. A midfielder could be the difference. I think Man United have realised, oh, this might be something worth looking into. But to be honest, I'd rather us spend 30 million on someone that's good enough to give Casemiro competition than do a stopgap loan that's not going to play for the sake of it. Now, who are these options? Joao Gomes, Tyler Adams, Ndidi, and Ruben Neves have all come from conversations. Meite is another name that's been floated about. I don't like Ndidi. I don't mind the other names. Joao Gomes, I think, is probably one of the better names. I think Meite is one of the better names. I like Neves. I like Adams. I don't like Ndidi. Look, I'm open to these names, bar Ndidi. Neves is more of Maino competition, I think, personally, and I think we maybe need more Casemiro competition because, as I've said, in my opinion, Ugarte plays better next to Casemiro rather than instead of Casemiro, where we're not expecting Ugarte to be important, build up and receiving the ball for the centre-backs. That's just my opinion, though, so that's why I'd rather have someone that's going to push Casemiro, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. But look, there's some decent names there, but please not Wilfred Ndidi. So let's talk about other options United are looking at. So United could be planning or plotting a surprise move because a new target has emerged. And this is a target that's got a lot of fans excited. Man United could decide to go into the transfer market to cover Dorgu's absence. United have not decided whether to step up their interest in Kader Meite as they assess whether to sign a number 9 or a winger. We need a winger more than a 9. Cunha, I think, in a 4-3-3 is more of a 9 than a winger. And Ahmad plays right wing, so Mbeumo for me is more of a number 9 than a left winger. I think we need a left winger because Cunha and Mbeumo and Sesko can play central. Ahmad and Mbeumo can play on the right. Cunha and Mount could technically play on the left. Orgu could technically play on the left, but it's none of their natural positions. I think we need a left winger more than number 9. However, if Cunha does start to go on the left and look quite good there, we can bring in a number 9 as a Xerxes replacement. There's a feeling Xerxes could go. Now, I do like Kader Meite. It said as well that Manchester United are considering stepping up their interest in him and have held talks with Rennes about the player. And he's 18. He's expected to cost around 26, 27 million pounds, which I think is a bargain, and has interest from Al Hilal. This is a really good young striker. This is a really good opportunity. And this is someone you almost sign and then loan back out for another year because he's not ready to come in now. Benjamin Sesko is raw. If we're going to have anyone to compete with Benjamin Sesko, they need to be experienced. And I think that's why Mbeumo and Cunha is at least a good level of competition for Sesko. We need an experienced striker to come in. I think Meite being so young, for me, you want to give him a couple of years in, on loan or something. I mean, he looks fantastic. I think he could be the next big thing. He definitely need a year on loan. I'm open for Man United doing this deal. But I'd like this deal on top of a top left winger, on top of three top midfielders, on top of maybe a left back or a centre back. But he is a very, very good player and one to watch. And I think with Xerxes potentially going, it makes sense as a Xerxes replacement, but it's not someone that's going to come in and I think give Sesko some real competition. But him over Sesko for the future is exciting. And as Rising Gem said, he shouldn't be allowed to move to Saudi Arabia. This would be a huge coup for a top European club, especially at the reported fee. He's got one of the highest ceilings in France right now. If United are truly interested, he could be the perfect replacement for Xerxes. Xerxes goes, you bring him in, we bring in a top left winger, we bring in 3 top midfielders, maybe we bring in a left back, boom. Looks like a good window, hey? Now, obviously, he's in 100th percentile for aerial duels won, 96th percentile for expected assists, 91st percentile for non-penalty goals, and 88th percentile for offensive duels won. No striker has a higher aerial duel win rate in the top 7 leagues than him, which is a nut stat to have. So, he's an absolute tank of a player. And look, if Man United want to go for him, brilliant. But I don't think he walks into our team right now. I don't think he's fully ready right now. I think he's one for the future. And I think this is more of a summer deal. I think in January, we need to bring someone in that's ready now. Academy Scoop, that watches a lot of youth football, said this: I'd love this to be true and pursued further. He is arguably one of the most outstanding prospects from a brilliant crop of young French strikers, has many of the hallmarks of a top potential centre forward, and buying from superb Rennes academy rarely disappoints. Ideal Xerxes replacement. I think you sign him, you send him back on loan for a year, let him develop even more. I'm not against it. But United need a left winger more than a striker, and they are looking at some left wingers, going back to some stuff that Nathan Salt's reported. The left wing market's going to be one to pay close attention to in the coming months. AC Milan would consider a sale for Leao. INEOS want Prem proven players, which brings Tyreek George, available to leave Chelsea, into consideration. There's Prem League proven players, and then there's players that play in the Prem. Tyreek George is not Prem proven. He's just played in the Prem. He barely plays. Ndiaye is Prem proven because he plays and he's good in the Prem. I feel like people forget there's a difference between they've played in the Premier League and they're Prem proven. Tyreek George has played in the Premier League. He's not Prem proven. Ndiaye is Prem proven. They also like Ndiaye that's contracted to 2029. Do not go for Tyreek George. Look at Leao, look at Ndiaye. There's other wingers out there like Kvaratskhelia. Could he be available? Barcola. Maybe Rodrigo, depending on what happens at Real Madrid. There's some other wingers out there. But look, I think there's a lack of top left wingers out there. I think there's a few clubs that will be interested in a top left winger. I think with Semenyo gone, I like Ndiaye. I'm not against Leao, but I actually really like Ndiaye. But Tyreek George, you cannot say he's Prem proven. He's just played in the Prem. It was said in terms of Ndiaye, and there's been a few reports on him in regards to Man United links. But it was said, Ndiaye has a growing number of admirers within Manchester United, with a style of play and overall profile viewed as a strong fit for what the club is looking to add in attack. Some people say, he plays on the right. He's just played more on the right this season because of Grealish. His best position for me is on the left, but he goes on the right to accommodate other players. He can play all across the front three and as a second striker, he's versatile. He does have similar characteristics to Cunha. I don't think he's necessarily a touchline winger, and maybe profile-wise we want someone that's more of a touchline winger. I think it depends who the permanent manager is. But I think Ndiaye is one of the better options. So look, Man United are looking at left wingers like Ndiaye. Manchester United are looking at the young Rennes striker. They could potentially bring him in the summer. But Saudi may go for him as well. And Manchester United are looking at bringing in midfielders, Joao, Gomes, Neves, Adams and Ndidi, and Meite on that list. Because Man United have realised we could get Champions League football, but investing or doing nothing in the January window could be the difference between that. Maybe spending a bit of money in January could be the difference between Champions League football and not getting Champions League football. And from an INEOS perspective, Champions League football brings in so much more money. Maybe they risk spending a bit of money late so we get Champions League football. Or maybe it's just classic Manchester United PR spin. Guys, let me know your thoughts down below on all the news. I hope you enjoyed watching today's 10-minute roundup. See you next time. Bye.